I really want 2020 to be different, and I want to have ways to handle the stress in a more healthy way.
You're listening to the Dare to Be Different podcast, a podcast for people who want to live an extraordinary life. On this week's episode, Joe and Alisha talk about the importance of maintaining your mental health. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Dare to Be Different podcast. My name's Joe, and I am here with my favorite host. Sorry, Ed.
Sorry,
Ed. But my wife is and will always be my favorite co-host. So thank you for coming today.
Sure.
So the Dare to Be Different podcast is all about living an extraordinary life, and we feel that there are 5 words that we use to really encompass this idea of an extraordinary life, and that is adventurous, honest, passionate, healthy, and grateful. So today we are going to make a little break from all of the Shark Tank talk, which we have been talking about for the last couple weeks on the podcast.
Yes, very exciting times.
Which we are still kind of recovering from all of that excitement, which is pretty nuts. How are you doing with it?
I'm fine. I've been asked that several times after the airing. And I don't know, Monday morning my life kind of went right back to normal because I'm not like in office every day, and I kind of have other
you're not here with the flex screen team dealing with the chaos that came after the viewing.
No, so my job currently is not in-house, so I go back to work and my life is completely normal, and everybody's like, how are you recovering, how's it going, are you just insane? And I'm like, I went right back to work on Monday. So it kind of wasn't the same impact, besides everything and all the chaos leading up to it. But
now, keep in mind that this is a lot like being on, at court. Like, you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and all that stuff.
Oh my God.
Are people asking, like, what is it like to be married to such an amazing guy? Come on, tell the truth.
I'll tell the truth and say no one's actually
no one has that.
So no one has said that, but I'm sure you're going to ask me, so what it's like on my end.
I'm sure that it's as awesome as I can possibly imagine.
It is as awesome as you'd imagine it would be to be married to you.
So again, we're a couple weeks out from the Shark Tank viewing. But one thing happened that week that I want to talk about. So we had all of the excitement that went with Shark Tank, and that was fantastic. And again, mind-blowing, amazing things for our company, for us. I'm now traveling around doing some speaking engagements and stuff like that. So it's been fantastic. But one thing that happened that is non-Shark Tank related that really touched us, and I want to talk about that today because it happened that same week. We've been doing the podcast for a while, and you, Ed, some other guest hosts, and we talk about this concept of living an extraordinary life. And we had somebody reach out to us, a regular listener, reached out to us, and I just wanted to read the message because I just thought that it was so touching and helped us bring perspective as to why we go through and do this, every week. So
yeah, I feel like sometimes we record these and then just kind of walk out of the studio and go like, that was really great. I hope it helps someone. But then you move on to your next, task or to-do thing. And especially in the chaos and busyness of knowing that, Shark Tank was going to air and the nerves associated with it and everything else that, knowing that this podcast was out there and that people were listening kind of, gets lost on you. It's just not in the forefront of your mind anymore. But having somebody reach out and we do from time to time have people reach out, but this one just kind of
it really hit home. Because we have been getting some regular messages now because the reader or the listenership has grown pretty substantially from when we started. But this one was special, kind of what was great. So I want to read it.
Go ahead.
It says, "Thank you for your Dare to Be Different podcast. I've been listening to every episode and absolutely love them." Multiple exclamation points there. So they really love it. In the podcast, you keep bringing up your word of the year. This is something I've never done before, but I've been thinking and praying about it. I wanted a word that encompassed so many areas of my life. My word for 2020 is health. What I want from this word is health, not physically, but emotionally, spiritually, financially, and relationally. I want to make myself a priority instead of putting life obligations, work, etc. in front. I want to do self-care. I want to work out, eat better, drink water, pray, journal. I want to have a stronger relationship with my husband, my kids, family, and friends. I want to be present and authentic. I want to be active. I want to be happy. I want to date my husband and make our relationship a priority. I want to worry less and pray more. I want to get financially sound, pay off debt, save more. I want to pursue my dreams and not wonder about the woulda, coulda, or shoulda. I want to go back to church. It has been a long time since we've gone consistently. All of this and so much more encompasses health. I turned 40 this year and it has me thinking a lot. Instead of just thinking, I'm going to do, I can do this, I believe it, and know it is true. I just wanted to say thank you for being you. You are inspiring so many. Can't wait to hear more of your message. Like, even just reading that now, I get a little touched. I mean, a little choked up.
I'm sure we have tissues if you need some.
Yes. One day I will cry and it will be on this podcast.
I don't know about that. I think that if anybody, says that they listen to any of those words and none of it struck a chord with you, I think it probably isn't true. There's something in there that all of us are probably working on that she had mentioned, because it's a lot,
It is.
It's a lot of goals and a lot of aspirations to hit, in the upcoming months. But, her overall thread of health is through all of those statements.
And that's what I love. Yeah, that's what I love about the word rather than some sort of New Year's resolution.
Yeah, because her resolution would have, taken up a whole, there would have been a spreadsheet on it if she would have typed it out. But the word health is through all of those things. So it's nice that it's not just one single statement, because that's a lot more than one statement.
Yeah, and before we go on, and I do want to talk about this aspect of health in 2020, because it's something that's, I mentioned it last week with Ed that I want to talk about. But I do want to say this: if you listen to a podcast, if you read a blog, if you consume content that somebody puts out, and you do it on a regular basis, reach out to those people, because it does mean so much to the people that are doing this. Because for us, there's no financial gain in doing this.
Right.
We just want to know that we're helping people, and
Right.
we can think that. But the feedback is, it's everything. It really, really means a lot to us, and
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody else that does this week in and week out.
Right. It is. I mean, it's what keeps you going and kind of goes, oh, somebody is listening. I am actually, it is helping somebody out there at some point in their life, to do even a tiny bit of improvement in whatever their goals are or whatever. If it's helping at least one person, then it's worth keeping doing. So it's just good to hear that it is helping someone,
It is. And so let's jump into a healthy 2020, because I want to talk about this. Again, I had shared this last week when Ed and I talked about Shark Tank. I did not handle the stress of Shark Tank, from the months leading up when we knew that we were going to film. There was a tremendous amount of stress preparing for that. And then this, the 6 months leading up to us actually airing was very stressful. And even the couple weeks of preparing for the air and us being on TV, as you're a part of my life. I just,
a little bit.
It affected me, it affected my health in a very bad way. And like I said, I talked with Ed about it very briefly, but I really want 2020 to be different, and I want to have ways to handle the stress in a more healthy way. And so, what did you see, kind of leading up to all of that was bad in my life? Again, this is one of those vulnerable, one of those vulnerable moments here. But go ahead.
I think that in most situations, you probably don't prioritize rest or time off at all, really. You don't even give it a line on the, task list. So I don't think that you took care of yourself so far as, making sure that you had scheduled downtime and stuck to it and put the phone away and quit responding immediately to things, and nothing was like that urgent that needed your attention on, a Sunday afternoon or whatever, which is something that, if we're being completely honest, you really do struggle with if you, I don't know, agree with that statement or not.
Yeah, I think that most entrepreneurs that are part of a growing business probably struggle with that.
Yeah.
And especially what we've been doing. We have multiple companies
right.
that we are running, and then of course you throw something like a Shark
right.
Tank into the mix.
And if you say like, oh, I consistently do really, really well with balancing my work and home life and rest and downtime and all these other things that, have to make the list at this, point in our lives anyway, nobody's really going to nail it all the time and just say, oh, I'm always on top of my game so far as keeping my priorities in line and scheduling the downtime or whatever. I don't think that anybody with multiple businesses can honestly say that they handle all the pressures and all the pressures and all of the scheduling well
right.
at all points in their life. So, but just as a truth is that you don't schedule downtime well, and take that time off, and which leads you to operating more machine-like. Like you just keep going, just keep doing the things, add more things, try to tackle all the things, and it's just not a realistic expectation on anyone. So we aren't machines, or we have human bodies, and we have to rest and sleep and take some time off and just decompress, because when you do, it ultimately is just a healthy habit.
Yeah, and so some of the negatives as far as my health goes, I probably haven't, at least in 6 or 8 months, probably haven't slept completely through the night.
Right.
So there's at some point during the night, I'm actually getting up and probably awake for a couple hours.
Right.
And typically I start working at 2:00 in the morning, doing stuff like that, which again is not good. From the health side, from the physical health side, I also, have experienced, I'm a stress eater. So, I've, my diet has not been very good. And so that needs some help. And also, for whatever reason, I felt that exercise was suddenly not important anymore through all of this.
Yeah.
So it has not been a very healthy, I call it 6 to 8 months that has, and for us, dealing with the things that we're dealing with is no different than anybody else's stress. I'm sure that there's people that are dealing with their own, maybe it's a financial stress or a relational stress or something like that that have very similar things that they're going through, whether that's, the same abuse that they're putting themselves through from no downtime or not sleeping or eating incorrectly or not exercising. But that stress for me, came out because of what we're doing, but that's unique to everyone. Everybody's stress is the biggest thing in their life.
Right. It's not, ours is greater because, you were on TV or anything like that. That someone's stress and the pressures that they're feeling in their life is the biggest thing in their life to them. And it is equally as large, to them in their own lives. And
I want to take a chapter out of your playbook, because you have been dealing with not just the stress that I'm putting on you because of my stress, which of course happens. Spouses do that to each other, and not that hopefully it hasn't been I've purposely put that on you, but you feel each other's stress and pains and things like that. But you also have the situation where your dad passed away this year as well, and you have done things in your life that I want to do in 2020 to help you handle that stress. So do you mind talking a little bit about some of the ways that you've coped with, or that you're trying to cope with some of those stressors?
I think trying to cope with is a better
Sure.
statement whenever it comes to that stuff. It's still very raw and very real, and has affected our everyday. He had 2 businesses that he was running, which I have stepped into, overseeing and learning the ins and outs of and all that stuff, along with your increasing, successes in business and the Shark Tank thing and everything. So taking on 2 full-time businesses in addition to what we're currently handling has been a lot. And so it's couple that on top of, we just miss him. I just miss my dad. And so I'm going to try not to cry.
That's right. So what's the one thing that, again, I think that you would probably want me to do that I know that you are doing, and you've actually started this almost immediately, and I applaud you for it. But
so immediately after, we just kind of had to quickly come to a realization that our lives were never going to be the same again. And so what our lives looked like in June and the beginning of July and for the previous years and years were just never, ever going to be the same. So we had to find a new normal, and finding a new normal had to be found pretty quickly, as I said, as it was taking over our day-to-day. Just with our schedules and every other thing, and add grief to that mix, and a deep, intense grief to that. So what I started doing was I went to therapy. I still go. I, just thought that if I ever wanted to just feel like I could get back to a place of some sort of new normal, even though it was never going to be the same, and just it just helps you kind of grieve in the healthiest way possible, but not only the person that you lost, but also the way life was before, any tragic event happens in your life, really. So on top of grieving him, I've also, we're also, I find myself grieving our old schedule and our old flexibilities and freedoms that were in our life before anything happened. So it's just been a lot. It's been a long 6 months, but there's good there. It's not that everything's terrible and it's been horrible. There's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of good that's happened in our lives. We've had grandbabies born, new ones that we're finding out that are coming and on their way, and just like we had talked about before. But in the midst of it, and trying to sort through all of the highs and lows of life, that through that low, I just needed to reach out and just start to try and process things in a healthy way.
What's interesting through that, and as your spouse, as your partner, as your best friend, I struggle with the fact that I wish that I could help you through that, but I'm not prepared for that. I don't have the skill set to be able to be that, and so it's amazing that there are people that are trained to do this and have this grace in their life to help people through this process. And I just I'm amazed by them, and also just seeing your improvement every week as you're kind of going through this, and they're giving you strategies for helping to grieve well and helping to move to that next step is it's amazing.
Yeah, and I think that if because as soon as it happened, it was go see someone. Are you sure? Are you doing anything to help? Are you seeing? I don't know. Are you going to therapy? What are you gonna do? And you can kind of. I found myself going, I don't know what that looks like. I never really had, not that we haven't gone to therapy in the past or anything like that, but not in this situation. And we've never. This is we've lost people in the past, but this is the hardest one.
Sure.
So kind of to expect that your best friend, your husband, whoever in your life is going to have all of the tools and equipment that you need when you need them, be able to say exactly the right thing to help you in that moment when you want them to be, compassionate at this moment, or, a little bit of tough love at that moment, or whatever you're needing. Nobody's ever going to say the right thing. And then to expect the ones that are close to us, of course, you're experiencing a grief as well. You loved him too, so it's tough to expect that out of someone who's not, maybe licensed or able to kind of go through that on, I don't know, own the skill set.
Yeah.
On their own. Like, you don't own that, and I can't expect that out of you. I can't expect it out of anyone,
Well, and on top of it, the nice thing about a therapist or a counselor is they have no bias, and they have there's no ulterior motives at all. Anything that you and I would talk about, or you and a friend, or whatever, there's some bias that is coming into that conversation. There's some motivation that might not be aligned with necessarily what is best for you. And again, not that there's bad motivations that would be involved, but there's just, we come at it from a certain perspective, and a therapist is completely impartial. They are there just to help you be healthier.
Right. And sometimes I think that we try to help someone else overcome something in the ways that work for us.
Or we think work for us.
We think work for us, or whatever. Or, just do these 3 steps. That's what I would do, and you kind of would give the advice. And that maybe not what that person in that situation with that personality needs to move forward or make any progress, so just an outside view on that is just, I think, beneficial in a lot of ways. And that's what they're there for. That's what they, it's literally their job, is to help people to overcome things. And I think that it's sometimes a silly thing to brush off as not important,
Yeah, and I think I don't think we planned on talking about counseling for this entire podcast,
No.
but I think it's a great subject, so we'll just stay with it, because I do think in full disclosure, we've gone, although most people would be surprised that because they see this amazing relationship that we have and how happy we are, and the fact that you are you're just married to a fantastic guy. I don't know what to say.
Enough of that.
But the fact of the matter is, in the past, we've gone to marriage counseling as a way of helping us to cope with, living together, learning how to overcome things. And I think that counseling in general is just so valuable. And whether you want to call it counseling, therapist, coach, whatever makes this easiest for you to swallow, I just think that it's really, really valuable. And I think it's something that I want to personally explore, because I have a lot of garbage rattling around in my brain that needs.
But you're amazing and awesome and like such a perfect person.
Well, perfect is such a big word. So, but I do
being
think
a little sarcastic.
No kidding. I could tell. But I do think I think that we have no problem in the business world hiring people, consultants, to come in and help us with our business, to see things from a perspective that is outside of what we have, because we're in the middle of it. Why is your mental and emotional health any different? And why is there this stigma? There just I personally, I'm fighting through this because I have a stigma about going to a counselor, and I have to overcome that. But I'm just wondering where it comes from.
I think that in previous generations, it is something that is like, oh, they're in therapy. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with them? And it's like,
why are they so weak?
Yeah, there's nothing necessarily wrong with someone to go to therapy. It's not a bad thing. It's just, if it could be helpful to you, then why aren't you doing that? Just like if you had, I don't know, if you needed to lose weight, you would probably go to a gym and seek a trainer or a dietitian or something, sign up for a program that would help you to stay accountable to, or at least keep in mind or remind you that this is the goal that you're after. so far as your physical health, but why we kind of, I don't know, squash that as a mental health thing. I don't understand. I don't know. I think it may be maybe just past generations and it not being socially acceptable or talked about enough or brought to light or even just, I don't know, an okay thing to do. Like, it's not that big of a deal,
Go get the help that you need.
Almost
Every
help, go get help.
Yeah, almost every insurance plan, has some ability to have some of that cost paid as well.
Right.
So, anyway, I guess as we're kind of rounding out the podcast, in 2020, if you're not dealing with stress, if you're not dealing with grief very well, if you're not dealing with some of the things that are going on in your life, and they don't have to be huge, they don't have to be a Shark Tank or a death in the family. They could just be, I have a couple crazy kids and I don't like them all the time, and I want to,
which is normal.
Yeah, which is 100% normal. You have to love them. You don't have to like them all the time. If there's one quote coming out of this podcast, love your children, but you don't have to like them all the time. I'm just kidding. But get the help that you need. Find somebody that's a professional that you can talk to. There's amazing counselors in every single city and every single area that you can sit down with. And actually now with the internet, there's counselors that you can connect with online. You can have, video conferences with them. You don't have to go even into their room anymore. So there's really no excuse. If that's something that you want to live an extraordinary emotional and mental 2020, if you want to have a great, if you need it, go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
So
no judgment here for sure.
So anything else as we're kind of going into as we're going into 2020, we're in the middle of January now. Anything else that you want to say to all of the listeners?
We just really appreciate your support and any feedback that you can give us on, this helped me, or, maybe this broke down a wall or a stigma that you had against, therapies or, talking about your health or talking about things that you might struggle with, that is just like an off, topic, just off limits subject that you don't want to, talk about. And maybe it was brought to light, or you feel like maybe you can have some conversations through this with, your loved ones, or, just get some self-help, or, make it part of your self-care routine to go see someone, then do that. But, ultimately we just really want to help people live a better life, an extraordinary one. You only get one, make it a great one.
Yeah. We get to do this trip one time.
You don't get to reverse the hands of the clock. So, I don't know, you might as well make it the best one possible.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for talking and helping me to be vulnerable here in 2020 and also sharing the things that you're going through, because that, to your point, I think that other people are going through stuff like this. And I think that us putting out there the craziness in our lives will help somebody else. So thank you so much for that.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And to Alicia's point, if this does help you, reach out. We love hearing from you. If you want us to do a certain topic, let us know. We will definitely do it. And share this podcast. Share it with somebody that you think needs it. And we love you. We will see you next week.